Moving on, a month after Russia put forward sweeping security demands, the United States has given its written reply, rejecting Russia's key demands to buy Ukraine from NATO. But it has offered what it called a new diplomatic path out of the crisis. Let's just listen into U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken on Washington's response.
Our response to Russia reflects what I said in Kyiv, Berlin, and Geneva last week. We're open to dialogue. We prefer diplomacy. And we're prepared to move forward where there is the possibility of communication and cooperation, if Russia de-escalates its aggression toward Ukraine, stops the inflammatory rhetoric, and approaches discussions about the future of security in Europe in a spirit of reciprocity. Our responses were fully coordinated with Ukraine and our European allies and partners, with whom we've been consulting continuously for weeks. We sought their input and incorporated it into the final version delivered to Moscow.
Now, Russia had demanded that NATO pull back troops and weapons from Eastern Europe and bar its neighbor Ukraine, a former Soviet state, from ever joining the North Atlantic bloc. Both the United States and NATO have rejected that demand. They've said that they're ready to discuss other topics such as arms control and confidence-building measures here. Secretary of State Antony Blinken also said that he will once again speak to Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov in the coming days. Now, in tandem with the United States, NATO too delivered its own set of written proposals to Russia. Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg too called for increased dialogue and for respective diplomatic offices to be re-established in Moscow and Brussels in a bid to de-escalate tensions.
History has shown that engagement on these issues can provide real security for everyone. So we need practical measures that will make a real difference. As a first step, we are proposing mutual briefings on exercises and nuclear policies in the NATO-Russia Council.
Russia has a complicated historical relationship with Ukraine since 2014. Russia has fueled an insurgency in eastern Ukraine that has killed more than 13,000 people and seized the Crimean Peninsula. Relations between the West and Russia continue to remain tense. The United States and UK have both indicated that they are willing to sanction President Putin if Moscow invades Ukraine. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov had reacted, saying such statements would be counterproductive in lowering tensions.
If a constructive response does not arrive and the West continues its aggressive course, Moscow will, as the President has said on more than one occasion, take the necessary retaliatory measures.
With the United States and NATO now making their stance clear, for now the ball is in Russia's court. Will President Vladimir Putin accept Washington's offer? Now that will determine the next phase of this months-long crisis, which has seen Moscow build up 100,000 troops near Ukraine's border, evoking fears of another invasion. Correspondent Susan Teherani has sent us this report from New York. Listen in.
The ball is now in Russia's court. Those were comments made by U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken on Wednesday after the United States submitted a written response to Russia saying that it will not bow to Russia's initial demands for concessions regarding Ukraine. However, there is now growing criticism that there isn't much known about that letter submitted on the part of the Biden administration to the Kremlin and the content of that letter and how this administration plans on negotiating or not negotiating with Russia on the crisis in Ukraine, except for the fact that the U.S. did hold firm on NATO's open door policy membership, rejecting Russia's demand to permanently ban Ukraine, and also said that allied deployment of troops and military equipment in Eastern Europe is also non-negotiable. However, there is a clause and perhaps some open door for negotiation in that letter, and that is over offensive missile placements and military exercises in Eastern Europe and also arms control agreements. However, that is unless Russia decides to pull back its troops from the border of Ukraine. Meanwhile, while the State Department did say that it, quote unquote, hopes that Russian President Vladimir Putin does not invade Ukraine in any shape or form, there is news, and it was announced on Wednesday that 6 U.S. F-15 fighter jets landed in Estonia. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.